Hello, my movie-loving peeps. Thank you so much for clicking on an episode of Side Flick. Let's talk about some movie news. Some of the stuff we're going to be discussing here today, guys, is we got reports coming out about the possible villain in the Fantastic Four MCU reboot. We got the voice reveal of what Seth Rogen's going to be sounding like as Donkey Kong. Reports of a live-action How to Train Your Dragon movie. Even Dave Bautista possibly spoiling the DC reboot. Really, that alone with so much more. So you guys know the drill. Leave me your opinions down below. And if you're feeling extra kind today, support my channel by using code 3CFilms at gfuel.com. Not only do you get a tasty energy-filled drink for yourself, but you show me that you love me and that you support me. And that means a lot. Timestamps will be in the description if you want to skip around, but let's dive into our first movie news story here. You guys might have heard me talk about a couple side flicks ago that we are going to be getting a Michael Jackson biopic. This is something that piqued my interest for a couple of reasons because one, I did grow up loving and listening to Michael Jackson music, but I was also curious to see how the biopic would handle the life of the King of Pop. And well, we got an idea of that because not only did they confirm who's going to be playing Michael Jackson, they have it here, Michael Jackson nephew, Jafar Jackson, to play King of Pop, and Anton Fuqua's directed biopic. That's one thing a lot of us were wondering, who would actually be playing Michael Jackson? How would they get that role down? And I guess a blood relative of the King of Pop was the way they wanted to go. Now, from the article here, they say that Jafar has been singing and dancing since the age of 12. I don't exactly think he looks like Michael Jackson, but a bit of makeup and different hairstyle, I'm sure he can pull off that look. But the thing I found most interesting is in this same article where they announce who's going to be playing Michael Jackson, they detail some of the things they've heard about this movie that kind of surprised me. They say here, as an actor, he might well learn more than he wanted to about his world-famous uncle. As we've heard, this film will not shy away from the controversies of Jackson's life. The pedo accusations that haunted his last years up until his death in 2009 at the age of 50 from cardiac arrest caused by a cocktail of sedatives. When it was announced this biopic was coming and that the estate of Michael Jackson's family was going to be in charge of having it see through, I thought, oh, then they're going to ignore the controversies. They're just going to breeze by them, not really talk about them. Kind of interesting to see that they're going to tackle them head on. So we'll have to wait and see if this turns out good or not. But for Michael Jackson fans looking forward to this biopic, how do you feel about this casting choice and the fact that the movie is not going to shy away from the controversies of his life? Moving on from there, we got some exciting news for fans of the Tomb Raider video game. We have here the Hollywood Reporter mentioning Tomb Raider film in the works as Amazon makes rich rights deal for Marvel-like franchise. And basically here in the article, they talk about not only a movie being in the works with Amazon, they also have a TV series and a video game that are all going to be interconnected as one. We don't have many details about the movie right now, but the TV series is being said to be written by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Who knows if she'll star as Tomb Raider herself? And this is interesting for a couple of reasons. One, it wasn't too long ago we were about to receive a sequel to the Alicia Vikander Tomb Raider movie that we got. That was like weeks away from starting filming until they just canceled it. And I guess that was a slight bummer because I didn't mind her first Tomb Raider movie. It wasn't anything spectacular, but I thought it was something decent. And now too here with movies like Uncharted making big bucks at the box office, The Last of Us doing really well on HBO. Check out my recap videos if you haven't. It's kind of interesting to see Amazon make such a big play for Tomb Raider. I think the world is vast and big enough for it to happen, but three different things all going on at the same time that are going to be interconnected? How is that going to work? Like, is the new Tomb Raider going to be the star of the movie, also the star of the show, and also the star of the video game? That seems kind of odd. I do hope it does go down that way because I don't want to see a spin-off Tomb Raider TV series that has nothing to do with Lara Croft. I also see some people pointing out, oh geez, this is what Marvel has done to Hollywood. They have ruined things. Everything's got to be a cinematic universe. And that's an understandable knee-jerk reaction. We hear something new's coming out and the studio's already planning 10 spin-offs, 2 sequels, a TV series, and a video game. It's like, hold your horses, man. I see the potential in the Tomb Raider world, and Amazon has the money to do it. Let's just hope they take a page out of The Last of Us and give us something worthwhile that not only resembles the video game, but is a worthy adaptation. How are you guys feeling about Tomb Raider already starting a cinematic universe with a movie, a show, and a video game? All connected. From there this weekend, we also finally got the voice reveal of Donkey Kong, voiced by Seth Rogen in the Super Mario movie. Donkey Kong is like my favorite character in the Mario universe. Don't believe me? I love feeling like Big Monkey. And well, when they announced that Seth Rogen was going to be playing Donkey Kong, I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. I like Seth Rogen, but his voice, Donkey Kong, really? All right, let's listen to it.
You got the cat box! Oh my, I'm sorry. Okay, Now you die.
Honestly, I think he sounds fine. Is it just Seth Rogen's voice, just maybe a little gruffier? Sure. But I think the thing I was fearing the most with Donkey Kong and Seth Rogen is that he would have his signature Seth Rogen laugh as Donkey Kong, and that would completely take me out of the performance, but we hear Donkey Kong laugh.
Oh my... I'm sorry. Okay. Now you die.
He's not doing his signature laugh. He gave him his own laugh, and even that cadence switch in tone where he's like, all right, now you die. Look, yeah, it works for me. I mean, this movie already just looks so gorgeous and fantastic, so faithful. These voices are just an afterthought, so I'm actually happy with it. I don't mind it at all. I don't think it's terrible. But this is where I throw it off to you other big monkeys. You approve, or you throwing banana peels? Give me the banana right now. The next story we got here today, I think, is one really interesting one. We've got reports and rumors flying around that How to Train Your Dragon is looking to be remade in live action form. Now, many different sources were reporting on this, but at the time being, this is still a rumor, so it's not 100% official, but enough people were talking about it that I thought, oh, I gotta discuss this. And well, if this ends up happening, How to Train Your Dragon would be one of the first 3D animated movies that makes the jump to live action. I thought that's something that might never really happen in Hollywood, because I feel 3D animated movies mimic live action enough that I feel it's almost pointless to make that jump. If you look at something that's like 2D animated that made the jump to live action, those look like completely different forms of media. They might be the exact same story because they're remakes, but that always made sense to me for that to be translated to live action. It would look completely different from one another. It's also worth saying that if this actually happens and the movie's successful, then we start a whole new trend. 3D animated movies will now be looked at to get live action treatments. Toy Story, Shrek, Monsters Inc., Cars. 3D animated movies we never really thought could be turned live action now could happen if this movie goes down. I'm not against it, but it does feel odd, you know, kind of like when you have that bad Taco Bell. We've all been there, right? The reports are saying that this is being done by the writers of How to Train Your Dragon, and that gives me some hope because the How to Train Your Dragon movies, I think, are actually really well done. Like, just the arc that happens from the first movie to the last movie, I think is beautiful, which would be one of the only reasons I'd actually be really excited to see how they could pull that off in live action. At the end of the day, I'd love to hear what you guys think. How to Train Your Dragon could get the live action treatment. It could start a new trend. Do you think this is a worthy trend in Hollywood? And what 3D animated movie you think deserves the live action treatment? Jumping on real quick to the DC train, because man, it is one day away from January ending and we have not gotten this dang DC slate. Joking aside though, it looks like the last day of January will be the day that James Gunn announces everything, but the day before that announcement, we have Dave Bautista doing an interview with Variety where it feels like he might have spoiled some of the things James Gunn is about to let us know. When Dave Bautista was asked about James Gunn's plan for the DC Universe, he said, I had a conversation with James about that. Bautista said, but I think the direction he's leaning in, completely rebooting that whole universe, he's starting from scratch and starting younger and fresher, and I think you need to do that. I think for the DC Universe to be revived, you need to start from scratch, and I think you need to start with younger actors. You need to start a plan for the next 15 years, and I just don't think you can do that with me, and I understand that. He goes on to mention that he feels he's a little too old to be playing Bane, and he wouldn't be able to handle the physical requirements for it, which kind of sucks because I always think Dave Bautista would have made an awesome Bane. But other than that, he did just say he had a conversation with James Gunn, and from what he was hearing with that conversation with James Gunn, it's a complete reboot. Starting fresh, starting young. Man, that is what I'm hoping for. After you told me Henry Cavill is no longer Superman and we're getting a new Superman, I was like, all right, that's it. Everybody must go out the door now. But then we just got conflicting report after conflicting report, James Gunn being vague on Twitter, us being like, is this a reboot? Is it a half reboot? Some people stay, some people go. Dave Bautista mentioning that, oh, he's starting fresh, he's starting young. It's rebooting, baby. Then hopefully it does mean that's what will happen. But until we get that slate announcement, which I bet you will be just as confusing, like think about that. Tomorrow he could say, new Superman movie titled this and Peacemaker Season 2, and we're gonna go, excuse me? How does one work with the other, Mr. Gunn? But 24 hours, guys, and then we'll find out. What do you guys think about these comments with Dave Bautista mentioning that he's heard James Gunn say, it's a complete reboot, baby? Moving on here to something else that I found fascinating and definitely had to talk about with you guys. There are rumors and rumblings going around of the main villain in the upcoming MCU Fantastic Four movie. Again, take this with a grain of salt since it's just rumors, but a lot of scoopers have been posting and talking about this, making it seem like it's actually going to be happening. And here they're mentioning that for the first Fantastic Four movie, they're going to introduce Galactus as the villain for that film. Now, this is interesting for a couple of reasons, because fans have been dying and asking for Galactus to enter the MCU. People have been wanting him to even be the new Thanos after the Infinity Saga. But admittedly, it's gotten some fans shocked and going, really? Galactus for the first movie, and he'll only be the villain there? Feels like a waste. I can kind of understand that train of thought just because we see Galactus such a giant world-eating being that controls the Silver Surfer, but other than just that, I also just never really saw him as a Thanos or a big event build-up kind of villain. People are comparing it to like when we found out that the first Flash movie is going to be adapting the Flashpoint Paradox. It's like, oh, that's a little early on. Shouldn't that be for like a sequel or a third movie? That's where I would rather see Galactus, like the third Fantastic Four film, not their first film right out the gate. But I guess maybe that just goes to show you the big plans Kevin Feige has for Fantastic Four in the MCU, because it's just so surprising how zip silent it has been on this movie. We have gotten it announced and know it's been coming for years. We don't know who the cast is. We don't even know the time period of this movie. There's still rumors going around that it's going to take place in the 1960s with like the Fantastic Four got lost in time or something. So yeah, when it comes down to it, I don't mind if Galactus is the villain in the first film. I'm just more curious about his design, how they'll portray him, because it would be weird to see a giant, bigger than Earth Galactus and then tiny little Fantastic Four people trying to fight him off. We'll have to wait and see, but this is where I throw it off to you guys. Galactus could be the possible villain in the first Fantastic Four movie. How you feeling about that? But that is all the movie news we currently have going on right now, guys. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch me talk some movie news. Don't be forgetting to use my code 3CFilms at gfuel.com. You support my channel, and that just means a lot to me. Have a wonderful day. Take care.